Hey all, Miku month is back. So for those of you that don't know, last year I dedicated the entire month of May to Hatsune Miku with an event called Miku. Get it? This year I thought I'd bring that back as I found so many more Miku prints to add to my growing collection. This video serves as a catch-up for all of my Miku-related prints from the previous year, as well as any that I did just specifically for this year's Miku month. Without further delay, let's get right into the video. This year brought two new edits to the boxy Miku I made last year. I'm super proud of these and already have some ideas on how to make even more from here. The first I made was Sakura Miku. The build is mostly stock, but I made two new additions. To make the hairpiece print better without a benchy hull line, I made the inside of the head sloped. This makes the layer time much more ubiquitous, thus giving a better surface finish. I have now added this fix to my previous models, so future prints will be much better. The second addition was these super cute cherry hair clips. These stand in for the old hair clips while fitting more with the look of Sakura Miku. For Snow Miku, I used the previously mentioned new hairpiece for a better surface finish, and added this super cute scarf. While I do own multiple multicolor printers, I printed all of these Mikus with a method anyone can replicate, even on non-multicolor printers. I used a trick called a filament swap at layer. This was discussed in last year's Boxy Miku video. Actually, here's a short snippet of that right now. To create this color swap, the process is the same for both an AMS or traditional setup. Once a file is sliced, go to the Preview tab and look at the layer view. In the layer view, scroll through the print to find the layer you want to swap to a different color. Add one layer above, as the color will change after that layer is printed. On the scroll bar on the right, click to bring up the option Per Layer. For traditional printers, click Pause at Layer. This will stop the printer and allow you to manually swap the color by hand. On a multicolor system, such as the AMS, you should choose the option Swap Filament. This option is only available if you have multiple colors set up in the filament section in the left portion of your slicer, and that works for both traditional printers or with an AMS system, as I've found in my testing. One thing I noticed while testing is that if you slice a model and add a color swap at a certain layer, then reslice the file in a new layer height, Orca and Bamboo Slicer will automatically calculate a similar relative height to keep the swap at the same place. For this video, I will show the layers that I swapped to at a 0.16 millimeter layer height. However, please note that if you put these in at 0.16 and then swap to a more traditional 0.2, for instance, it will auto recalibrate. This helped a lot in the making of the blocky Mikus, as I could slice each and then swap my profiles without losing the color painting, and you can take advantage of that too. The advantage of this method over the quote AMS styled multicolor is that it produces much less waste. I was able to print each Miku only swapping the filament at layer. Thus, it only needed to purge around 9 times per model. Speaking of this coloration, here are the filaments I used. For Sakura Miku, I used Inland Pink, Red, and White PLA+, Inland Lime Green and Sand PLA, and Elegoo Pink PLA+. As with all models, coloration differs depending on interpretation of the character. I chose white as a way to better accent the pink I used, which also highlighted the different hot pink on the eyes. For Snow Miku, I used this Inland White and Sand PLA, Inland Silk Blue Gray PLA, Persimmon Royal Blue PLA, and Sunlu Silk Silver PLA. This figure was my favorite to choose colors for, as I have the widest variety of colors in blue. That meant that I had a lot of options to work with. I really liked how the dark blue silk and the lighter blue silk contrast each other, and how the more matte white balances out these two along with the silver. For the scarf, I was originally going to print it in a silk white, but felt it distracted a little bit from the silk of the hair and the skirt. Overall, these two Mikus are my new favorites, and I'm super proud of how I was able to remix them while still keeping the core of what makes the original design so cute. I want to make even more variations, so please feel free to leave a comment down below if you have any ideas of what you think I should make next. While scouting for stuff to print for Miku Month, I found these adorable triple baka keychains. These are all made by this creator on MakerWorld. The detailing is very tiny, and so on some like Neru for instance, it's really hard to make out the parts of her arms compared with the black of the keychain border. Additionally, there is some weird geometry on some of the faces of the keychain leading to parts that print in weird colors. For instance, look at Miku right here with this weird pink section that shouldn't be that color. I will give big props to the way this was designed in terms of the coloration. The designer raised certain features to allow those with only 4-color printing to still get full-color keychains. The way this works is simple. If a model has more than 4 colors, but the colors are only present on different layers, you can swap out the filaments manually, like with the previously discussed Boxy Mikus. To do this in your slicer, first slice the file, go to the layer view and find a layer where the color has been fully used up. In my case, black is the fully finished color, so I'll swap it for pink. Once you have chosen a layer, right-click and select Print Pause. You will know it is successful when you reslice the file. That layer will be completely gray to simulate the pause. It'll also be up in the top telling you around what time that pause will occur. When sending to the printer, make sure that you tell the printer what colors to put on what ports. For instance, both black and pink are listed as the same port in my slicer here. When the printer pauses, take off the old color and add the new one. Now you have more than 4 colors on an only 4-color printer. Neat, huh? While I'm on the topic of colors, the Miku keychains were printed in Inland Sand and Black PLA, Inland Pink PLA Plus, Jamji HE Green PLA, and Hobby Lobby Gray PLA. The Teto keychains were printed in Inland Sand, Black, and Red PLA Plus, and Overture Brown PLA. The Neru keychains were printed in Inland Sand, Black, and Yellow PLA Plus, and Prusament Royal Blue PLA. These next prints might be my favorite of the Miku prints in this video, not designed by me. When I saw these while making lists for the video, I knew I not only had to make them all, but I had to make an entire army. These are all wonderfully designed by this user on MakerWorld. These were very straightforward to print and let me test out my brand new Snapmaker U1. As such, I really won't be able to comment on the filament waste, although I imagine it is similarly high to that of other multicolor figures. Some key things to note are printability. Make sure you disable supports, as the flexible parts of the model will fuse together if supported. Additionally, there are sections of the hair on Teto that did slightly fuse together after printing. However, I don't have any complaints on this, as after a bit of back and forth, they flex with no issues. Hats off to the designer, as these are the best printable Miku figures I've ever seen. For filament colors, I used 3D Hojor Beige PLA, Inland Basics Black and White PLA, and Jamji HE Green PLA for the Mikus. For the basic Teto, I used 3D Hojor Beige PLA, Hobby Lobby Red PLA, and Inland Basics Black PLA. For the Baguette Teto, I used 3D Hojor Beige PLA, Hobby Lobby Red PLA, Inland Basics Black PLA, and Overture Brown PLA. The final Miku print for this month was this giant Lego Miku, inspired by her appearance in Fortnite. This model was created by this user on MakerWorld. Overall, I think this model is really well made, but it has some really harsh overhangs. Similar to the Flexi models, this gave me a great opportunity to test out my Snapmaker U1. as I used a sneaky trick to get perfect overhangs. In material science, there's a special property of plastics. Plastics of different types won't stick to each other. Now, moving a little bit on, traditionally, supports are printed with a little air gap so whatever is supported can be removed, but that air gap makes overhangs look unfinished or of poor quality. With a tool changer, such as the Snapmaker U1, multi-material printing can be leveraged to overcome the downsides of using supports while leveraging the advantages of still having them there. For this model in particular, I used PETG as a support for the PLA of the print. I actually did a bunch of testing on this with various materials, but I don't really want to bog down this otherwise, quote, less technically dense video with that. Next month's video will be all about my multi-material testing, so if you're interested, stay tuned. Anyway, back to Miku. The arms, hands, head, and most importantly hair were all printed with this PETG support method. Comparing with the leg connector, which I printed in PLA, you can clearly tell the difference that multi-material makes on support structures. The bottom of the hair is shockingly clean, and I am blown away by how well this method works. Aside from that, the detailing on this model is phenomenal, and I gotta say I really like the sizing. My other giant Lego figures are a bit too giant, but this Miku is actually like the perfect size. Her joints are decently stiff, meaning she's easy to pose, but I don't feel like I'm going to break her whenever I move her. I think this print was wonderful to make and a great way to test out my new Snapmaker U1. Okay, so I know I said the previous model was the last one, but I decided to showcase an extra model. You know why? Because I like you. I like you a lot.
Now don't take that too serious.
This is a kit card styled blocky Miku made by the same designer as the Teto and Miku flexi figures, that being this user on MakerWorld. There is not too much to add to what I previously said about the flexi figures, but this turned out so cute. I will say the Miku is a bit wobbly and doesn't stand in her base very well, but the novelty of the figure is really what it's meant for. Speaking of which, the trimming and post-processing of the model made for some great ASMR. Hey, take a listen. Oh, and don't worry about me cutting up the cute model, because I printed multiple. I know this is more so a limit of my own technology and not the designer's, but if I ever get a printer that can do more than 4 colors, I plan to reprint this model to properly color the included leak. The skin and gray and green colors are just kind of weird. Speaking of which, the colors I used for this are 3D Hojor Beige PLA, Inland Black PLA Basics, Hobby Lobby Gray, and Jamji HE Green PLA. Well, that about wraps up my work for this year's Miku month, but I do have a few channel updates before I'm done. Some of you might be aware, but I actually have an Etsy storefront where I sell physical prints showcased on my channel. Due to the growing demand, I am currently working on listing the various boxy Mikus which I have shown off today or in other previous videos. If this launch goes well, I plan to add more Mikus, Tetos, and heck, maybe even a Neru too. And also, I plan to update and release a new version of my Miku cosplay pieces for those that want to add to their Miku cosplays. Right now I'm actually showing a version of a V6 Miku hair clip that will go along with an updated headphones and so on. Overall, I'm very happy with the projects I was able to make for this year's Miku month. I'm testing the waters to kind of see if themed months are something my audience enjoys, so if you liked what I did this year, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to see more. And with that, that's where this video ends. Thank you all very much for watching, and bye-bye!